Love and light, friends. So I get these publications in the mail from family members that are deep in the spiritual matrix. So this gives me a chance to go through it. And hopefully what do you say? Hopefully we can get out of the strong delusion. Hopefully we can shed the strong delusion. So let us go through this. I'm going to set the phone down so it's not bouncing around. But we're going to go into Isaiah 27 through 28. The time is coming when Yaakov will take root, Israel will bud and flower, and fill the whole world with a harvest. Adonai will not strike Israel as he did others who struck Israel. He will not kill them as he did the others. Your controversy with her is fully resolved by sending her into exile. He removes her with a rough gust of wind on a day when it's blowing from the east. So the iniquity of Yaakov is atoned for by this, and removing his sin produces this result. He chops up all the altar stones like chalk. Sacred poles and sun pillars stand no more, for the fortified city is alone, abandoned and deserted like the desert. Calves graze and lie down there, stripping its branches bare. When its harvest dries up, it is broken off. Women come and set it on fire. For this is a people without understanding. Therefore he who made them will not pity them. He who formed them will show them no mercy. On that day, Adonai will beat out the grain between the Euphrates River and the Valley, O Egypt, and you will be gathered, one by one, people of Israel. On that day a great shofar will sound. Those lost in the land of Asher will come. Also those scattered through the land of Egypt, and they will worship Adonai on the holy mountain in Jerusalem. Woe to you, haughty crown of Ephraim's drunks, to the fading flower of its proud splendor, located at the head of the rich valley belonging to people overcome by wine. Adonai has someone strong and powerful. He comes like a hailstorm, a destructive tempest, like a flood of water, rushing, overwhelming. With his hand he hurls them to the ground. The haughty crown of Ephraim's drunks is trampled underfoot, and the fading flower of its proud splendor located at the head of the rich valley, is like the first ripe fig of summer. Whoever sees it picks and eats it. On that day, Adonai will be a glorious crown, a brilliant diadem for the remnant of his people. He will also be a spirit of justice for whoever sits as a judge, and a source of strength for those repelling enemy attacks at the gate. But there are others reeling from wine, staggering about because of strong liquor. Cohen and Prophet reel from strong liquor. They are confused by wine. Led astray by strong liquor, they err in their visions and stumble when judging. All tables are covered with vomit and feces, not a single place is clean. Can no one be taught anything? Can no one understand the message? Must one teach barely weaned toddlers, babies just taken from the breast, so that one has to use nursery rhymes? Precept by precept, precept by precept, line by line, a little here, a little there. So with stammering lips and a foreign accent, Adonai will speak to this people. He once told this people, it's time to rest. The exhausted can rest now. You can relax. But they wouldn't listen. So now the word of Adonai for them comes, precept by precept, line by line. Line by line, a little here, a little there, so that when they walk, they stumble backwards and are broken, trapped, and captured. The Word of God bears witness to the fact that afflictions teach us to bend our knees and cry out to the Lord in our problems and troubles. Before I was afflicted, I went astray, but now I keep your word. I know, O Lord, that your judgments are right, and that in faithfulness you have afflicted me. So they're painting a picture again, supposedly of the Creator, who does a lot of violating of free will, says a lot of boastful things, gets people to do his will by afflicting them, judging them. But see, the Prime Creator doesn't do any of that. The Prime Creator lets you learn at your pace. And if you're a slow learner, you can reincarnate as many times as you want. So if you need 100 lives down here in the lower world to remember, to get it, to understand, then you can take 100 lifetimes if you wish. Because he's not going to reach down and give you cancer because you're not waking up quick enough. He's in no rush because guess what? Time is an illusion anyway. So he's not going to violate your free will like Adonai does repeatedly. In the last verse, David's saying, Lord, I know why you afflicted me. You saw that when all was going well, I went astray and became very careless. So you allowed trouble to come upon me. You knew it would drive me to my knees and bring me back to brokenness. My affliction was evidence of your faithfulness to me. We need to understand something about the heart of God. He hurts when we hurt. He feels our affliction with us, no matter what it is. In all their affliction, he was afflicted, and the angel of his presence saved them. In his love and in his pity, he redeemed them, and he bore them and carried them all the days of old. The Lord is moved whenever his children cry out to him from affliction. Israel cried out, and their cry came up to God because of the bondage. So God heard their groaning. Israel's cry moved God's heart, moved Adonai's heart. See how they flip between 1 minute they're saying Adonai and the next minute they're saying God, because they really want to get this mind control stuck in you, like a thorn in you. That Adonai is God, is Jesus, is El Shaddai, is Baphomet, is is just all intermingled, and it supposedly all means the same thing, and so you'll be confused as hell if you're reading this crap trying to understand who the hell's talking and who they're talking to. Because, well, let's just read on. Every time they were afflicted, God hurt with them. The Bible tells us that even when Israel sinned against the Lord and misery fell on them, his soul could no longer endure the misery of Israel. So let's consider this. Is it possible that Israel created an egregor, a lower god, an entity, and they created a covenant with this egregor? And basically the covenant would have been, you shall be our God, we shall be your people. Okay, this has nothing to do with the prime creator. This is all twisted, weird, human spiritual stuff down here in the lower world, in the lower realm. So in the lower realm, you can actually create entities that can impersonate God, right? And so when they signed up for this and they went into covenant with this egregor, they were bound then to this egregor. So therefore, when they started doing things that the egregor didn't like, the egregor could start kicking asses, could start killing, could start doing whatever it wanted to get these people's full attention upon it. I am your God, Adonai. You see, so this whole thing going on between Israel and quote-unquote God is only going on between Israel and this egregor that's impersonating God. And so the dealings that it's having with these people, is just like if you went into contract with somebody and you started breaking the contract, these people might want to take you to court. All right? So this is spiritual court. These people are getting their asses kicked in a spiritual court because the egregor became unhappy with them. Let's read more. The Bible tells us that when Israel sinned against the Lord, the egregor, and misery fell on them, his soul could no longer endure the misery of Israel. Judges 10:16. Many people battle awful bondages in their lives, and temptations in them rage daily. Yet, I say to all such people, God cares. So, flippantly throwing around the word God, I guess this fool is going to try to throw out God cares. Who's he speaking for? Is he speaking for the egregor Adonai that violates free will regularly? Or is he talking about God cares? In other words, the Creator cares. And sure, that's true, right? Sure, that's true. The Creator cares. The prime Creator cares. But to just throw this in the middle of this strangeness going on between a chosen people and their egregor God confuses the hell out of anybody else that would be reading it, not realizing that, wait a minute, man, you're convoluting a bunch of different things here and not really being very clear on who's who and what's really going on. And that's why these people that are believers are so confused. They're utterly confused. Let's read on. My people battle awful bondages. We read that. God cares. Yes, he knows the misery you endure, and he alone has the power to deliver you. So the egregor gives misery to people, but it's teaching you. It says here, in every battle, he is teaching you to run to the cross and cry out to him for deliverance. Now we're convoluting another freaking thing, right? Running to the cross would imply running to Jesus, or running to the place of your crucifixion, running to the place of your death. And yes, when you transform spiritually, you go through a type of death where you die to that egoic self and you become the spirit you actually are. But see, these people would have you believe, no, you take in this spirit from outside yourself. You invite Adonai, which is the same as God, which is the same as running to the cross where Jesus is. It's all the same thing. No, it's not. It's not all the same thing at all. And it's craziness if you think that way, because you see things Adonai does that's very different from the things Jesus does. Is very different from the things that you know intuitively that the prime Creator does. Or we could almost say does not. Because again, the prime Creator doesn't have to manipulate, doesn't have to fool with stuff, doesn't have to mess with stuff. Why? Because you're here. You're the representative of the prime Creator in this reality. And so he needs do nothing because he's got you, he's got me, and we're here, and we're speaking, and we're exposing, and we're shining the light, and we're sending the waves of the heart portal across the earth plane, affecting the entire resonance that's here, so that people's consciousness can elevate to where they can see all of this kind of stuff, especially in the Bible where there's so much convoluted spiritual nonsense. So you're supposed to run to the cross and cry out to him for deliverance. In other words, if this egregor is your God, you better do what it says, because you could end up getting killed or afflicted or whatever. right? So be careful what you consider to be your God is the lesson we're learning here. I believe the greatest devotion of the Christian is practiced on the front lines, in the heat of battle with fires raging all around. Where are those fires and all the heat and all that coming from? Adonai? In fact, I know many believers whose devotion has been strengthening in the midst of hectic activity and spiritual warfare. They don't have to be on a mountaintop to love Him with a whole heart. They don't need to live in some isolated village to yearn for His coming. Again, they got these people thinking that some external entity's coming, that the prime creator that you hear as a representative of the prime creator, that's nothing. You're nothing. You need some external thing to come and save you. They have learned to love Jesus as passionately during their drive to work as when they are in their prayer closet. Your sense of Jesus' nearness to you cannot depend on your feeling. When you feel down, depressed, and blue and do not have time to seek the Lord, the devil will flood you with feelings of guilt and unworthiness. So now we're associating guilt and unworthiness with another external entity, and this one is called the devil. And so when you're feeling guilty, let's say about not handling your business like you should be, well, it's the devil trying to make you feel like shit. You may think Jesus has left you and saying, I'll come back when you have time for me. But the nearness of Jesus is maintained by faith. It has nothing to do with your feelings. When someone is pushing or shoving you on a subway or in an elevator, just whisper to him, oh God, I believe by faith that you are here, very near to me. Protect me, Lord. Keep me, and don't let the junk of the world seep into my system. Those who truly love Him yearn for His company. No matter how hectic things get, devotion to Jesus means trusting Him alone for every need. Mind, body, spirit. When you are suffering in your soul, run to Jesus. Do not seek answers from any other source. So, run to this idea that's permeated the planet, that Jesus is a literal character and not a literary caricature, and that the actual Christ, the christening, if you will, was around long before Jesus, and that the cross that you bear is actually a crossing that happens in your brain, the physiology of your brain having to do, and I'm not going to go deep into this because it would take too long and it would be kind of off on another tangent, but when you raise the Christ, and I'll just say Christ consciousness for simplicity, and Christ consciousness is associated with bodily fluids that start out in the lower chakra, rise up Jacob's ladder, your spine, then move back into your brain, and where it crosses the corpus callosum, if I'm remembering how to say that right. But that's a whole different thing. So, in other words, Jesus or Christ is actually an internal physiological happening, not a historical character that was sent by an egregor to come and save you. And so they remind you to run to this idea so that you can keep this idea alive that there's some external thing that's coming to save you. When you are here right now as a representative of the Prime Creator with free will, consciousness, and a heart portal, and until you get functioning with your heart portal, you're going to be lost in the letter of the law. It says the letter of the law kills, meaning when it's words on a page, it's going to destroy you. But if it's metaphysics in the spirit and in the heart, you will ascend to a higher state of consciousness and see things for how they really are. And I think my time's going to elapse here, so if it does, my apologies. I'm just going to read on and finish this if it allows us to.